What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home over at fakepigskin.com. I am your host, Kyle Robert. Here to help me break down this week's race, it's Brian Twining. What's up, Brian?
What's going on, Kyle? After last week's Talladega race, I don't know how the hell we're going to top that
Yeah.
going into Pocono, but that was something to witness.
Yeah. One of the benefits of that work from home life is being able to watch a lot of that. Obviously, you were able to get home and see the crazy finish. Shouts to Eric Almirola for finding a way to get his rear fender over the line and cash that top three for me. It was a very, very nice race. We like Stenhouse. We like Almirola. 2-3. Boom. Joey Logano was winning a lot of that, and I liked him quite a bit. So hopefully we can keep it going. Hopefully we can keep it rolling. But before we jump into this week's race, I want to give a big shout out to Landon Markham. Dropped in our comments that he liked Ryan Blaney. He thought he was going to win. And sure enough, Ryan Blaney takes home that checkered flag. So shouts to him. Thanks for watching. If you guys like a racer, let us know. If you like a driver for this week, let us know. It's a little bit of a unique week, so we're kind of going on the fly here. But obviously, there's two races at Pocono. There's gonna be one Saturday, one Sunday. In terms of odds, the Saturday race is out as we're speaking. If the Sunday race odds trickle out on Friday, then our goal is to record something. If not, Brian, it's the same track. We're using a lot of the same information. I don't want to sound like a broken record, so I don't want to go too crazy, but if we're looking at, obviously you're going to want to see, okay, did somebody wreck? Are they going to a backup car for Sunday? How did they perform? Did they learn something on Saturday that they can use on Sunday? But in terms of just like overall, like, do you trust the better drivers to, go into Sunday with even more? Or do you think maybe some of these younger guys, some of these guys that don't have quite as much experience could really learn something on Saturday? Maybe their team fixes something. Maybe look for guys that finish the race strong as potential guys that could do, much better on Sunday. Like, where's your head at in general in terms of what you want to use on Saturday and parlay that into Sunday's kind of action and maybe making a few wagers?
I think you kind of hit on it. I kind of expect to see this weekend with some teams taking the Saturday race as like their let's kind of learn what this track is all about and put all our efforts towards Sunday's slightly longer race. And you're going to have the guys who are more experienced who are going to be coming into this, that they know what they're walking into, and they're probably going to run very similarly both Saturday and Sunday. But it's the lesser known guys who on Sunday, I think we may see them push up into the top 10, top 15. And I think Sunday's race is going to be the one where taking guys with bigger odds is going to be to your benefit because of that.
Yeah, and even if you're taking top threes, top fives, just if you see a guy finish really well, if it seems like they figured some stuff out, or the opposite, if a guy that you trust that does traditionally really well, that's run really well at this track, maybe he wrecks early, maybe he for some reason has an issue with his first car. It might be something towards Sunday that you can look, maybe get a little extra value on it. But let's jump into it. Let's talk the Pocono Organics 325. Obviously, as you mentioned, Saturday's race is a little bit shorter than Sunday's, but I mean, nothing too crazy. So let's jump into it. Let's talk our favorite option inside 10-1, and I'll let you take the tee and talk to me about Mr. Brad Keselowski.
Man, it wasn't looking the greatest for him during Monday's race. He was running in the 20s pretty much the entirety of the race, but coming down to the stretch, the last 10 laps, he and my other super dark horse Ryan Newman both started pushing up the pack. With that last caution we got, they had pushed all the way into the top 10, both of them. And then on the restart, you saw the gas issues really affect them, and they were running on fumes, and they both fell back drastically into the pack. So, my pick with Keselowski last week didn't work, but he's such a good driver. I don't think he's a guy to worry about too much. I mean, so far in 2020, he's third in average finish. He's finishing just inside the top 10. He's got 5 top 5s. In his last 9 of 13 races, he's finished inside the top 10 in 2020. So you're looking at a guy who is consistently running, top of the field. And then if we take into account how he's done here at Pocono, in his last 10 races at Pocono, he's finished in the top 10 8 times. He has 7 top 5s. He's actually the best average finisher here at just over 8.5. He has the best all-time average finish among current drivers at 11th at this race. And I believe he's second all-time to Jeff Gordon in all-time average finish for racers with 20 or more races at Pocono. So if we're looking at a guy that has great success, he's running really well, he's a big name, he's got the backing of a big name ownership group that they're gonna, they know what they're doing with their cars. So I'm sticking with Keselowski again to finish, top 5, top 3, and he's gonna be my pick to win.
Yeah, no, and I like that call quite a bit. And especially when you look at the odds, like Kyle Busch 4.5, Kevin Harvick 6.5, Hamlin 7, Chase Elliott 7.5, Martin Truex right there 7.5. So you're all the way down to the 6th driver when you talk about Keselowski. And obviously we're using DraftKings Sportsbook for all these odds. So if you can find better numbers, I highly encourage you to do that. But we are using those numbers just for a solid base. I like that call. I think that makes sense. But I'm gonna go with Mr. Ryan Blaney. This guy, obviously, as I mentioned, coming off the win, has been running really well, and especially since the restart. Like over his last 6 races, he has 5 top 5s, including that win. He's a guy that has done well at Pocono. He hasn't had a top 5. He hasn't had a win, but he has the 5th best average finish over the last 6 races, and he has 2 top 10s in there. So he is ready to, I think, take a stride forward and keep his hot streak rolling. And at 10-1, I like that. As you mentioned, if we're looking more at like top 3s. I think that is also a very interesting at plus 275. I think that's good value for a guy that has been running so well, has been consistently hitting those top 5s, and is coming off a victory. And I think really is coming into his own and trying to assert himself among the Joey Logano's, the Denny Hamlins, the Brad Keselowski's, the elite of the elite, Chase Elliott. All that good stuff. But as we like to do, we want to dig deeper. We want to find the value. And Brian, we did it again. We keep doing this. Last week, it worked great for us. We loved Stenhouse. We loved Almirola. And 2-3, boom. Obviously, there's going to be weeks where I don't think it'll work out quite as well. But we're on 2 of the same guys. So let's dive in, and I'll let you start. Let's talk some Erik Jones because his number is moving already. When I was doing my notes, 18-1, right before I would push record for this thing, 16-1. His top 5 drops from basically plus 300 to plus 275. But a guy that clearly we both are on board with. Talk to me about him and kind of what drew you that way.
Just doing the research on all these races, I'm looking at like how they've run at the particular tracks, and then also looking at their success levels during this current season. And Erik Jones is a guy who I've picked him at a previous race, and I believe he was involved in an accident and he fell back into the pack. But we saw him last week show the kind of driver that he could be. As he made a move at the end there, and he almost won the race. If it wasn't for that crazy finish where he got nicked at the end in Fishtail, he could have just as easily won Talladega. Mm-hmm. Just looking at the numbers for this year, he's one of 10 drivers this year with 3 or more top 5 finishes. He's finished second in his only race in the Xfinity Series at Pocono. in 2016. So he's had success there as a younger driver. He's finished top 10 in 5 of the 6 races at Pocono, and he's got 4 top 5 finishes here. So if you're looking at a guy with great success and a good number, Erik Jones was the first guy that jumped off the mat for me.
Yeah, no, and I'm 100% on board. Everything you said, and it's interesting. I've been watching. Like, if you watch the races, and you go beyond the obviously the numbers do so much for us, but if I feel like consistently I'm watching it, and consistently he is in that top 5, top 8 conversation. Maybe he doesn't finish there. Maybe there's an accident. Maybe he falls back for whatever reason, but he's always in the mix. He's always involved. Some of these young kids, and we're talking about another one here in a minute, they're taking their steps. They're showing they belong, and they're earning their stripes. And Erik Jones is a guy like Ryan Blaney, like the guy we're going to talk about, that's kind of trying to push his way into that elite class, into that top echelon of drivers. And obviously, the Jimmy Johnsons are going to start fading out. The Kurt and Kyle Bushes are going to start fading out. And the next level, the next group has to step up, obviously led by Chase Elliott. But there's a bunch of young kids that are ready to dominate the sport. And I think Erik Jones is absolutely in that conversation. I think he's ready to make some noise, and I like him quite a bit this week. The other young driver that we both like, Mr. William Byron, 20-1 this week. Obviously, another young driver, but definitely coming into his own. He has 5 top 20 finishes, 3 top 10s, and has led 22 laps over his last 6 races. A 9th best average finish over that span. He's also done well at Pocono. He in his last 4, he's finished in the top 10 3 times, with his top finish being a 4th overall. So looking at him, his numbers aren't moving quite yet, so maybe we need to jump on that.
Yes,
but you can get a top 3 on him at plus 550. You can go. Let me pull up the top 5 here.
I believe he's 3-1 top 5.
3-1 for a top 5. Like I like that. I like that quite a bit. I feel like he is another guy like Erik Jones that consistently is in the mix, consistently is running at the front of the pack. Obviously, he's in that iconic Jeff Gordon number 24 car, so you tend to see it on the track. Your eyes tend to be drawn there, and he's always, competing. He was doing well last week. He's another guy that I like, and we're talking 20-1. We're talking, big numbers for top 3, top 5. I think there's a ton of value there, and I would be very happy to back him at all those prices.
Yeah, Byron, just like Erik Jones, like you were saying, they're part of this young generation of drivers who, in order to earn their stripes, they seem to be driving a little more aggressively than the more established guys, and you're seeing them make moves up into the front of the pack, and a lot of times it's resulting in lesser finishes because they wind up getting in an accident, or they're using their tire tread a little bit too fast or something like that. And you were talking about his last 6 races, taking out that Atlanta race where he crashed out. He's 12th or better in 5 consecutive races if you remove that poor finish at Atlanta. And you look at his races at Pocono, his first race in his rookie year, the first time at Pocono, he didn't finish very well. But if you look at last 3 in a row, top 10. Then you look at, he won a Truck Series race here in 2016, and in his only time racing there in the Xfinity Series, he finished top 12. So this is another guy, young guy, with great success at this track, who's also doing really well, trying to earn his stripes. These are the guys that are making their moves into becoming kind of in that upper echelon of drivers and more recognizable to the general fan like us.
Totally. And, I think there's a comfort level, understanding, okay, this is what I can do with my car. This is what I can't do with my car. Learning experiences, even from some of those, questionable moves, moves that they might not want to make. They're figuring it out. They're doing well, and they're improving. And I like them both quite a bit this week. And I'm curious to see what their numbers look like heading for Sunday's race, depending I'm guessing they're going to let it roll on Saturday, and then we'll get numbers after that, kind of depending on who wrecks and who doesn't, and all that good stuff. But like I said, if we get numbers before Saturday, Brian and I will be back. Otherwise, just we like these drivers. At FPAOP, at Greasy Rules 14, at Notorious Caro. Follow us on Twitter. If we see numbers we like, we'll throw them out there and we'll suggest that you drive them. And if you have drivers you like, leave them in the comments below. Hit us up on Twitter. Say, hey, I like this guy at this price. What do you think? We're down to give you our feedback for sure. If you like fantasy football, we had a great conversation yesterday with Matt Harmon of Yahoo Sports, talking a plethora of second-year wide receivers. And always, we are back to cover NASCAR each and every race. If you have a winner, leave it in the comments. We will pimp you on the next show if you call the right one. So for Brian Twining, I'm Kyle Robert, and we'll talk to you guys next time.